Welcome, everyone. Today is February 23rd. It is 6:30, and this is the Acushnet Planning Board. This meeting is being recorded for future YouTube viewing and also live via Zoom. Anybody, can I get a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make a motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fabulous. We do have a quorum tonight. Can I get everybody to introduce themselves?
Steve Boucher, member.
Mark Francois, Chairman,
Rick Ellis, Vice Chairman. Brian Deschamps, member.
and we are missing one member tonight. First on the agenda, did everybody get a chance to look over the January 19th meeting minutes that Paul sent out earlier this week?
Yep.
Any issues, any?
Nope.
I looked everything over. There was a lot said at that meeting. Some of it was kind of consolidated with just kind of head notes of what was spoken about. So I will sign this real quick. It's always so cold in here. Yeah.
What we do with it, right?
We make a motion to accept the minutes from that night.
Motion to accept the minutes. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain, I was not at the last meeting.
No, you were at this meeting.
Oh, I was at that one, okay, then I'm really not paying attention tonight. I thought the same thing until I just looked at the date.
Hey, yeah, please, for January 19th.
It was January 19th, everybody was here. This is the meeting that we had that was a special meeting that we spoke about 550.
Yep.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jamie.
and Jamie Kelly was,
It is presentation.
yeah, he did his presentation.
I'm all set.
So you're not abstaining?
Yep. No, I'm not abstaining, I'll,
And you're all in favor?
I'll form it, thanks, thank you.
There's no correspondence, there's no public hearing. Okay, discussion and other topics. A&R 2023-02 for land on 5 and 7 Tilly Way, Acushnet, Mass. ZLS Land Surveyors LLC, New Bedford, Mass. Drawn for Arlene Birch, CO Vicky Birch, at 144 4th Avenue Northwest, Cut Bank, Missouri, 59427. Mr. Romanelli?
Good evening. For the record, John Romanelli, Zenith Land Surveyors. This plan has gone through a zoning variance, and it's been recorded. There is a note right here on the plan, subject to a variance case 20021.12.20A. Basically, what is going on, Paul Mitchell has rented out this space with his business for a very long time. When Mr. Birch passed away, I believe it's his sister that lives in Montana, is looking to sell both of these properties. And Paul was interested in buying it because obviously he runs his business out of here. The lot line, when we did the survey Paul just wanted his lot corners staked, and when we went to do the survey, we found out that this storage covered area was over the property line. So what he was proposing to do, he wanted to keep this area because he stores his forms and whatnot underneath that. So what we did was we created a new lot line to basically bump around the existing structure there, so it's not hanging over the lot line anymore. It's a pre-existing non-conforming both in size and in setbacks. But what this does, at least it takes the existing building, it keeps it on number 7 and takes it off number 5. So a variance was granted for the setback, because it's only, right now it's 16.9 to the actual structure. We gave him basically 2 feet around that structure, so he could actually do some type of maintenance. And then Paul asked us if we could add an easement, basically in case he really wanted to walk around there with a ladder or something, he could physically get on there and not be encroaching on the neighbor's property. So basically what we are doing here is almost a formality of the zoning variance. The former lot line here is dashed, that's going to be removed by this plan and go around that structure, and also create this easement for access and maintenance around the covered area, covered storage area. And we did a little blow up here of the meets and bounds of each, the easement and the new lot line creation, so we can get it conveyed properly from house number 7 to Paul's property at numbers, I'm sorry, from 5 to 7.
So I guess I think that question is it's already gone through zoning.
It has. And it's been
Okay,
recorded.
why is it in front of us at this point? This is the thing we were trying to understand.
Basically, the decision gets recorded at the registry of deeds, and it's recorded under this book and page right here,
Yeah.
14592, page 211. But it's just a document stating that the variance was granted. The proper way to take care of it is to now get the plan endorsed by the planning board, which basically enforces and puts on record a plan that can be conveyed now. Because basically, the variance just said, okay, we're gonna let you go without meeting the proper setbacks here. They want a plan drawn that can be recorded, and then from that plan, there'll be a deed conveyed from it. Because right now, if he bought this, he would have to chop that building off. And so the variance was to allow him
To
a
keep that
variance for
over.
the setbacks.
How long ago was that original line put in and approved?
A long time ago. I'm gonna say like in the early 70s.
I think that's about what I saw when I looked at it. It was Honorable Bergman who was owning that property originally.
So sorry to interrupt, by this being done back in the 70s, the original lot line, there's a house on this side,
Yeah.
but there's no house on this side, and it's under the 60,000 square feet. Is it possible for number 7 to be a house put on it?
No. It doesn't meet the current set, doesn't have the 60,000 square feet. Basically, what we're trying to do is, it's still, excuse me, still a non-conforming lot. But what this allows is that building to sit on its own property, where right now it does not. Excuse me.
It's not the entire part, the overhang was the part that was...
Correct.
So they'd really have to go back and get a variance if they ever wanted to build on it for not having the
For
amount
being
of square
2,000
footage
square
that they
feet
needed.
Exactly.
underneath, you'd have to go for a
Yeah.
variance.
And I believe this is on the market too, so Paul wanted to get this cleared up before the sale of this house happened.
So who is the LLC Tilly Way, 7 Tilly Way? When you go look at there was a transaction done back in January of 2022 for
I don't know
some
if you know,
money.
the Birch family was pretty prominent in this neighborhood.
Yes.
And Billy's sisters basically owned this property. I believe it was Vicky Birch recently passed away, and Arlene Birch is kind of left as the sole heir of the property.
The
Other way around?
The other way around, I
I
believe.
think
Yeah,
that's,
because we had to get this signature we needed.
Right, yeah, I wanted to ask you if you did get the application.
We-
At the last hearing, it was left under Paul's.
we did get
Thank
it.
you. Yep. So, if I may,
Please.
it's my understanding, it's been for a number of years, being in the building industry, that it's not acceptable to make a non-conforming lot less conforming. okay, which we're creating here. It's less conforming than it was previously. Obviously, both lots weren't conforming, and, I mean, there was some other things, but I think there was something else in play at one point in time. When I look at the aerials and I see some other maps, there was a mobile home at one point in time. I don't know when it was there, when it was on there. So, which would have probably kept those two properties separate. But my understanding is when the law was changed back in 1996, the zoning laws, if you, and this was, Arlene owned these properties in 1995, that if two properties were owned in common and neither one of them was conforming, they should have been conjoined, okay? So I don't know if that house trailer that was on 4K was on there prior to that, and that's why it was never done. I have no idea. But that's some of the things that I saw when I was started doing some
Like
work.
after 8 years, the line dissolves?
It dissolves, that's what I'm
After
saying.
common ownership?
It,
It's a tricky one.
It is, but this law was, something was sold.
It's always complicated.
Yep.
And I mean, it almost needs a lawyer on it to go back from day one and track it through the time and through the zoning changes in terms of whether there was the ability to have a lot, a building on this lot before the zoning change, and if it carries over to after the zoning change. It's not straightforward.
Right.
I mean, in any case, I mean, if this was not approved, then and that lot line was still there, there's some intricacies about whether the lot line disappears or not after the zoning change. And I don't have all the facts in front of me to make that. And in any case, there was 2 lots there before. There will be 2 lots afterwards. Whether or not they're going to be entitled to put a dwelling on this lot after the thing gets split again, I don't know. That's a legal call. Like I said, you've really got to track the whole ownership / zoning through the years. Sometimes it just takes a small difference, and it's not combined.
Does Mitchell own this property now?
No.
Okay.
So let me ask you a hypothetical.
Sure.
If the zoning board never approved that little jog, and he just said, all right, I'm gonna take the overhang off, it would never have had to go to zoning.
Correct.
He just went to zoning because he wanted to keep his overhang.
Correct.
And then it would never have gone to zoning, it would never been in front of us,
Correct.
and it would still be 2 lots, one at 23,000 square feet and one at 58,000 square feet.
100%. He's
And then
basically
he would-
doing that because he's used this building for 25 years and would like to keep using it as it is.
So whether or not he wants to build on it or not, that's not in question today.
No, it really isn't.
Has nothing to do with what he's here for today.
Correct.
Basically, what you are here for today is the lot line was changed, you went to the ZBA, they approved it unanimously. If any of you gentlemen, I have the meeting minutes to that meeting that they went in front of the ZBA. It was a unanimous vote.
It basically puts that
Yeah, I mean,
decision on a plan that the
You-
general public can now.
So it can be recorded as such.
Correct.
yeah. And again, at the very least, that way at least, the commercial building can be on its own lot. They can have their overhang, without benefit of easement or anything like that. Nothing really changes. Even without us signing this plan, he might be able, whoever the owner was, might very well be able to hire a lawyer to research the whole history of it and make make the pitch to the building inspector as to whether they were entitled to put a house there or not, whether or not this lot line ever got changed. So I don't see that, this doesn't change anything. Signing this plan just means they can sell the lots off separately and they can continue to have the garage without taking the overhang down.
Wouldn't it have been cheaper to just get rid of the overhang, put it on this side, and hire you to do all the work to?
It's all money.
Anybody else have anything to say?
I don't, like I said, the way I watched the meeting, I don't think there was a whole lot discussed at that meeting.
Yeah, I didn't present at the meeting.
No, it was, but I watched it, and I just don't think there was, it was left to, well, it's a hardship and there's no other way of doing this. I disagree. I disagree.
Go to court.
And that's where I'll leave it. And again, I think it was presented that Mitchell owns this piece of property. And this is why, it was presented as, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that it was presented that the owner of 4K was there, which was Paul Mitchell, at that point, at that meeting.
I think
Owner of this
he's got a
property.
P&S on the property.
Maybe it's, a little different maybe, but I'm just, it's there. I know there was a transaction done in that property last January, with, exchange of money, for a sum of money. So I was assuming he was the owner. However, it's left as Tilly Way 7 or whatever, LLC Tilly Way 7 or something. I think it's how it's spelled out. So I don't know who the owner actually is, but I took it as, when I watched the zoning board meeting, that he was the owner of that property.
Anybody else?
No, I'm all set. I really don't see a problem with signing this plan. It really does not change the legal status of the two properties, if they are, quote, two properties. Just-
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I kind of think the same way. I think, he still can't build, he's still gonna, like you said, either hire a lawyer or ask for a variance, because it's still under the 60,000. If we were to disapprove these plans today, it wouldn't stop the sale, it would just mean he's gonna have to go back to the original line, and the 300 square feet difference either way.
Technically, if you were to do the sale to create the separate lot, you're still back, you would be in front of the building inspector as to whether you'd created a non-conforming situation with the setbacks. That's really what this plan takes care of. Because you could sell it and reserve rights to have the overhang on that side and reserve the rights to, have enough property beyond the overhang to maintain it. But you would be creating a zoning problem. The whole thing with variances are a unique part of Massachusetts law. I mean, technically, I would say 90% plus of the variances that are granted probably wouldn't hold up in court, because it's quite a stringent requirement to prove a hardship. Typically in Massachusetts, if the neighbors don't object, ZBA grants the variance.
Okay, can I get a motion?
A motion that we approve the plan as submitted.
I second that.
A second? All in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
We have 2 ayes, 1 no. I'll give you the third approval. I don't think that, like Rick said, I don't think us granting or not granting is gonna change anything. It'll just go back to the old way, and he's just gonna have to take the cover off and it'll still be the same 58,000 square feet. I don't think us granting and not granting is going to allow or not allow him to build a house on there. He still has hoops to jump through to build a house.
Yeah, again, he's just looking to continue to run his business out of there.
Yeah,
There's nothing he can do.
I'll give you a third. Yes. All in favor? Already did,
Yeah.
sorry. We have to sign the Mylar. Each of you have a plan in your folder. Can you each sign your plan? We're gonna sign all 10 of them, please, and let's sign the Mylar first. Actually, I brought the pencil.
Yeah, ours has disappearing ink.
I need yours. Copy here, please. And I have 5 other copies here.
Keep looking up at that clock.
What's that?
Gotta keep looking up at that clock.
Yeah, don't do
Yeah,
that.
no, don't do that.
We're late.
Yeah, you're not.
It's plus or minus 24 hours,
Right towards the day, right?
more or less.
Oh, that's, yeah.
This one.
And put them all together.
Yeah.
And then if we don't, they'll just get. I mean, you could sell somebody an easement to have the building there, you know, as it sits today.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And you could grant him you could sell it with the right to utilize all the land on the original lot. I mean, there's a number of ways to do the sale. This is probably the cleanest one. And, you know, you still have the issue because of the old lot line, whether or not that it got dissolved when the zoning change happened.
Thank you very much.
Ultimately, that's another one of those building inspector or building commissioner calls, because he is the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay, let's see, let me grab a pen here.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Based on what's here tonight, this Tilly Way, is it paved all the way to the end?
No, no, it's gravel.
So technically, it may not even have frontage required by the zoning, if the road isn't built yet.
Yeah, it's a private way at this point, so.
Yeah.
Phew, I guess that's right. All right. Moving on. Discussion, town planner staffing. So, we were going to discuss and vote on what we were going to do regarding our town planner. And basically, the two options are a part-time planner or a full-time planner. Dollars to be negotiated later, I guess, the pay. We were gonna discuss and vote tonight, but I spoke to Jamie Kelly, and he asked for the opportunity to come back in front of the board and kind of give his side of it, I guess, or his bullet points on it again. And he's also gonna try to bring in a ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funding consultant. So there's a lot of money out there. There's money that the government had issued. Each state, each city, each town gets X amount of dollars, or able to get X amount of dollars. And it's a process to get those dollars. You don't just say, hey, I need so-and-so, and they give it to you. The town planner needs to request, the town planner needs to update, the town planner needs to do a lot of things. But Jamie's gonna try to get a consultant in here to explain to us exactly the process of getting those funds, the work that's involved that the town planner would have to do, that, and also getting grants, which we want. I guess there's a lot of grants out there that we are eligible for, qualified for, and Jamie just wants an opportunity to come back and speak to us one more time. So instead of continuing the discussion today, we're going to postpone it to the next meeting and listen to it then. Like I said, I've sat with Jamie a few times, and he talks about all the things that are possible coming up in the town. Talks about the grants, talks about the ARPA money, talks about a lot of things. I don't articulate that well back to you guys like the way he does to me. Obviously, he knows it inside and out and better than I do. So I asked him to come in and say, hey, what you just told me, come in and tell the guys, the board, and then we can discuss it again. But I would like to take a vote, because one, we need a town planner, and we gotta get this advertised, and we gotta get interviewing and get a town planner in. My understanding is if we stay with a part-time planner, the funds are already there, and I think we can start applying right away. If we decide to go with a full-time planner, I think we're gonna request some more funds, and I think that has to go to town meeting to get approved. So that might delay it a little bit, but with that being said, I just wanted to let you know that it's something that Jamie wanted to come in and discuss. And I think the selectmen had meetings with ARPA, and Jamie's had more meetings with ARPA, and I guess there's more funds out there that are available. So he's gonna talk to us about that next meeting, and then we'll discuss and possibly vote on it next meeting.
Now, in order to get, I believe, it was like around $53,000 that is presently going to be on the warrant for approval. I mean, the $53,000 that's we're currently carrying for the town planner.
Right.
Is that going to continue to be available whether or not we vote on anything tonight?
We are not voting on anything tonight.
No, I mean,
and yes, that will be available, but it depends, because if you vote on a part-time planner, if we vote on a part-time planner, then those funds will be less than 53. Let's just say hypothetically, they're 40. We're gonna lose 13,000.
Okay.
And then if we down the line say, hey, we were mistaken, we need a full-timer, well, now, not only are we gonna be asking for those 13, we're gonna be asking for 13 plus.
So, I mean, then it seems like a non-starter. I mean, we vote for 53,500, whatever the magic number is that's on the warrant or in the budget already, and let's just carry it over for right now. And, I mean, if you try to go in front of town meeting and ask for something that's double or triple what's in there now, that's going to be tough. I don't think you
No, I
could,
don't think we'd be asking for that much, but again, as far as the budget's concerned, and as far as what we can and can't ask for, I'm not 100%
okay.
educated on, sure on that. That's something that, once we've decided which way we're gonna go, once we've decided whether we feel we need a part-timer, this town only needs a part-time town planner, or we need a full-time town planner, then I think the dollars will be worked out then. We just need to decide whether or not we feel this town needs a full-time or a part-timer.
Mhm.
And then, once you hear what Jamie's gonna say of the additional work that the town planner will be doing regarding ARPA and other funds that are available, then I think it's gonna be more than just the occasional A&R that's gonna be coming in front of us, or an occasional subdivision every now and again. I think there are things down the pike that are gonna be coming down our way, especially with the MBTA coming through.
Yeah, I understand all that. I'm, in my own mind, I mean, ultimately, we do have to sell any increase in funding at town meeting. And with that, it's gotta be a well thought out, a well thought out way to get it in front of town meeting and convince everybody on the town meeting floor why we need that money.
Agreed.
You know, and it can't be complicated, it's gotta be simple and straightforward. I mean, we've got grants X, Y, and Z that we wanna go after, and in order to go after them, we have to accomplish A, B, and C in terms of open space plans, you know, all the plans that are necessary. Because the decision really is gonna be, are we gonna go after these additional funds? You know, are we gonna go after these grants? And if the answer is we wanna go after them, then we've either gotta have some staff to do it, or we've gotta hire outside consultants, which will be 2 or 3 times the cost of what it would be to put a full-time planner in place. But I think that's the argument that we've got to be prepared to make, not just amongst ourselves, but to the people who are going to be at town meeting.
So I mean, to hire somebody as a planner, if he or she has the capability of upgrading the master plan is one thing, but I'm not so sure that's, most towns have basically outsourced that underneath,
But there's also,
you know, some of the direction of the town
All
planner. Don't get me wrong.
I'm really saying is, we've got to make the case to the people of the town of Acushnet why we feel it's necessary to have a full-time planner, and why, and how much we feel we're going to have to pay to get somebody with the capabilities that we're looking for. And if it means that we're not looking for a grants writer, or we're not looking for an open space person to put that plan together, then, you know, I think we need to be clear on that to the people at town meeting. You know, we still will have to outsource the open space plan. I'm just gonna pick that one. I know there are others for discussion. And it's gonna cost in the neighborhood of, you know, $200,000 or $300,000 to update these things. But we're not going to be able to even try to get those grants unless we're ready to approve money to update the master plan, the open space plan, and all the other things that the state are gonna require to be in place before we even submit
right,
a grant application.
and then we get penalized without having a master plan in place. We get penalized for the funds that we do get now. Without that, eventually everything dries up.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot, I think, that is coming, and there's a lot in there. Let's give Jamie the opportunity to talk about it.
Yep.
We can go back and forth with it. But another thing that we need to make people aware of is that we had a full-time planner. Excuse me, we had Doug as a full-time planner. And if we hire another full-time planner at his pay rate, then that person, it's gonna be a rotating.
We're going
Just
to,
a stopping
exactly.
point.
We'll have somebody,
For a year until they get some, put something to put on their resume, and they're gone to go get more money.
I mean, Doug had to live in an apartment with a bunch of other guys.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't afford anything else.
No.
You're not gonna keep anybody around long-term with that kind of a salary.
Right.
No, you're not, and that's part of it. However, I think if we could, finding a competent part-time planner, somebody which would probably, has already been in the business, and pay them well for their part-time service, I think we may get just as much out of that as hiring a full-timer that, that we may have to increase their salary by $25,000 to get.
It's a matter of trying to find the right person for the slot.
And it's gonna be, either way, I think it's gonna be, it's not gonna be the easiest thing.
It's
No,
not.
No, it is not.
And it's not. I just found out,
And I think too, whether we do especially if we do a part-time planner, part of the job description has got to be that they have to be available at town hall, 1 day a week, for 6 hours or something like
Oh, yeah.
that. We've got to have the opportunity.
it's gonna be a schedule.
Yeah, there's got to be a schedule, that's right. And there's got to be something set up so that everybody in town hall knows, well, he's going to be here that day, I need to discuss something with him, and he's
Yeah,
there.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
You know,
from so-and-so, he's there.
And part-time constitutes 19 and a half hours. So it's better than half the week.
Mhm.
Okay, or close to half the week. Well, actually, in our case, it's, towns are basically on 35 hours a week, so it is better, it is basically just shy of halftime, so.
And part of, quote, having a planner, there is, if you have somebody that has time to spend at Serpent, to spend at meetings, to develop contacts in the local planning community, there's, whether it's writing a solar array bylaw or whatever, having somebody with the time available to spend to develop that stuff. It doesn't mean you sit here at town hall
Right.
and you do that. You have to go out and check out what other towns have done. And you've got to be having regular contact with other planners in the area. I mean, that doesn't show up, with you sitting at town hall, 40 hours a week or 20 hours a week or whatever. I think it has to be clear to the selectmen and the people in town hall that besides the meetings, there's meeting time, there's prep for the meetings, and there's time that needs to be spent developing your contacts within the local community. That doesn't involve sitting at the desk at town hall, 19 and a half hours a week.
Right. But that comes
Yeah.
out of his hours as well.
Yeah. I know.
So we'll further this discussion, hopefully get a little bit more feedback from Jamie on, everything that, I can't tell you that I don't know.
Yeah.
And he'll tell us, and we gotta figure something out.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right, last but not least, discussion, the new fire department permitting requirements for solar field battery storage. Okay. I got a letter and spoke to Mr. Farland, our fire chief, and this is a quick memo that he put together for department heads. I'll read it to you just so you can kind of get an idea here. Gentlemen, myself and several members of the department recently attended a training on the newly implemented updates to 527 CMR 1.00 Massachusetts Comprehensive Fire Code. Included in this update are some changes that may affect some of the projects that our community is in the midst of putting through the approval process for various boards, specifically solar projects that include battery energy storage systems. Commercial solar projects with an energy storage system of 0.6 megawatts or higher must be permitted by the local fire department as of December 9th, 2022. The date of the newest update to the fire code was implemented. For residential energy storage systems, the threshold that requires a permit for the local fire department is set at 1 kilowatt. I am also sending this memo to the Building Department, Board of Selectmen, and Conservation Commission so that everyone is filled into the loop as of these recent changes. I will be working closely with Mr. Babola, the Building Commissioner, and Mr. Knox, the wiring inspector, to ensure that these new updates are being adhered to. After speaking to Mr. Farland, I asked him how much the permit was going to cost. He didn't have that answer for me yet. And also doing a little bit of research. I got to do more research, and I have Paul also going to be doing some research, or Paul and I will probably do it together. Is we have 8, I think, 7 or 8 solar projects that have been special permitted through the planning board, but have not yet gotten a building permit. There's only 3 that have building permits right now. One 550, the other one's, I forget the driving range over here, and the other one's Cushing Lane. Cushing Lane hasn't actually got started yet, but there's only those 3. Those 3 do not have, they would be grandfathered in anyways, but they don't have.
Well, I don't know that our special permit grandfathers anybody into changes into the building laws.
Yeah, fire protection.
Yeah, the fire protection.
From what I gather, as long as the building permit was issued prior to December 9th, then they don't have to go get a storage permit.
Okay.
But again, those 3 do not have solar.
But
They don't have
the
storage.
majority of
on
them didn't have storage.
Right. I know the 3 that have issued building permits do not have
Right.
energy battery storage on them. So now I'm gonna go back and look at the other 8 that have special permits, that have not gotten building permits yet, and just make sure those that do, if any, go to get a permit prior to a building permit.
And I mean, hopefully, this is another thing that even a part-time planner does, is he provides some continuity between what's going on, with the administrative section and the code enforcement section of our town and this board. I mean, it may very well be that in terms of the ones that have already been permitted, I mean, the building commissioner could just say, well, you didn't initially have this permitted, go back and get a modification to your special permit. I mean, that's the building commissioner's authority there. And if he feels it's important enough that it's gotta go back through the special permit process, it comes to us. Now, he may also just turn around and say, well, you have new regulations, if you want to put one of these things in that you've got to comply with, here they are, make sure they comply, get your stamped plans in here, and we'll process it. That is ultimately why we need continuity at the building commissioner's post also.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be helpful. A question that I have, and I'm not 100% on this, but I'm fairly close, is if a resident puts solar on their house, our wire inspector, Mr. Knox, has to go and inspect it.
Yes.
But if you have a solar farm putting in a massive solar field, why doesn't our wire inspector have to go inspect it?
Oh, he does.
Oh, he does not.
He does not?
It does not.
Really?
Who does? That's the question I have to talk to Mr.
I thought
Bobola.
the wiring inspector had the ability to oversee all,
There's no wiring permits pulled.
wow. I had no clue.
That one I don't have no clue, that doesn't
So
make any sense.
No, it really doesn't.
I gotta find out.
So who
I
is-
haven't had the opportunity to see Mr. Bobola yet, to ask him the legalities behind that and the exact code on that. But I was talking to somebody that filled me in on this, and I said I wasn't aware. So I'm kind of curious myself.
I mean, if I run an underground conduit out to a receptacle in my backyard, as far as I thought I was required to go get a special permit for it. I mean, not a special permit,
Yeah.
a wiring permit.
So, you know, in my line of work, right, chapter 149, okay, control construction is typically what it is. So you got architects, you got engineers. Building permit's still required, still reviewed by the building department and commissioner. They have the option to inspect or not inspect, okay, because it's controlled construction. They rely on the affidavits of the engineers and the architects saying that everything was built according to plans and specifications. However, every job that I've been on in the past 10 years, there has always still been a plumbing and electrical inspection. And a permit's been pulled for those jobs, and there's always been a plumbing and electrical inspection. It's kind of, so I'm curious
The
about
only thing that
that.
I can think of
When it
is
comes out of
that
control construction.
Eversource has their people inspected, is what, the only thing I can possibly think is because it's, I don't know. But this is what I was told. Is it word of God? I'm not sure. I gotta
Yeah.
find out for sure. But I was just throwing it out there to see if maybe you guys knew something I didn't know. But from what I'm gathering, only the Mr. Knox has not inspected one. But I'll find out.
I mean, one of the.
And what the state might have done with all of this, I get no
Well,
idea. They
I-
could stand all by themselves like a lot of other things.
Well,
like this
I mean, on
solar farms.
all bigger projects, I mean, typically, the building inspector is not going over, a major commercial building in every step to make sure it complies with the code. He requires an affidavit from the architect,
Right.
or the electrical engineer, or the plumbing engineer, that the stuff, as designed, all meets the code.
Right.
And boy, most of it was in relation to buildings, so it was automatic. You had to have the plumbing inspector satisfied, and you had to have the electrical inspector satisfied,
Yep.
or you didn't get an occupancy permit for the building.
Are these storage batteries, what are they? Are they lithium?
I would assume, I don't know.
Okay, does town even got what they need to even fight if one of those batteries go up to begin with?
Well, that's what the fire chief told me, that they went and trained in case of a situation.
Yeah,
like that.
because all the things I've seen so far, there ain't too much that can put them things out.
Except, again, I don't know if it just means by cutting the power, eventually you kill the fuel source. I don't know. I don't know if they're that flammable to they'll continue to go without energy. I don't know. That's Mr.
They
Fire.
have it.
That's the fire chief's
They had buses
domain.
that's on fire in England, and they burnt for weeks.
Again, that's the fire.
They couldn't
chief's
put them out. You
domain.
put them down there, get salt water down in Florida, and they blow up, so.
My favorite store, Burns,
Yeah.
in Fall River. That place burned to the ground, and one of the biggest problems was all the lithium batteries that they had in the store. The fire departments had a tough time trying to get the thing extinguished.
Can you count those?
Because we've all seen,
Yeah, it wasn't,
We've all seen
that was
pictures
not a
of-
very big space over there.
we've all seen pictures of Teslas scorched to the ground once they get caught,
They go for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, they-
Flood them down and then they start back up. I was told that some of the, when they tow a Tesla in, they have to put them in fireproof vault for a certain amount of hours after they get the vehicles to the shop, and make
Wow.
sure that they're totally discharged.
Wow.
Our next meeting is March 9th. Can I get a meeting to adjourn? A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.